Welcome back. In this video, we will build our lampshade arm component. I will open up step 3, and when my file is open, I will close the data panel. You will see that this file looks exactly like we ended the last video, with our arm assembly component already created. Because I am creating a component that I know will be part of my arm assembly, I will want to first activate my arm assembly component, then right-click New Component there to create a nested component. I will rename this Lampshade Arm and hit Enter. And for this arm, I would like to look more closely at sketching and using sketch constraints, and then creating separate bodies with separate extrude commands. So, let's move over to the side and create our sketch in this area. I will go New Sketch, place my sketch on the bottom plane, and again I'll move over so I see this area. I could make this shape out of 5 rectangles, but I would like to look at some more sketch constraints. So to start, let's go to Line, and I will zoom in and draw my first line around 15, just so I have a sense of scale. And I will begin to draw the rest of my shape. Notice I am not trying to make this exact because I want to clean up my shape with sketch constraints. When I close my sketch, it will automatically create my profile. Now this sketch does not look very clean at all, and it has already placed some sketch constraints around my sketch. If you have more or less sketch constraints already applied, that's okay. We will delete them all now. I will go to my selection, go to Selection Filters, uncheck Select All, and select Sketch Constraints. Now I can select all of my constraints with the crossing window and hit Delete. I will go back to Select, Select Filters, and recheck Select All. Now I can begin to apply my constraints. The first constraint I will apply will be the collinear constraint. This places 2 lines collinear to each other. I will select the top 2 lines here and here, these 3 here and here, and here and here. And before we move any further, I will drag this down to retain my shape. And I will place one more at the bottom here and here. Now I will begin to place horizontal vertical constraints. When clicking on a line, I can place exact horizontal vertical constraints without selecting 2 geometries. Now that all of my lines are horizontal, I could place vertical constraints, but instead, let's use the perpendicular tool. The perpendicular tool is applied between 2 geometries, so I will need to select first a vertical line and then a horizontal line to place my constraints. Again, as your geometry jumps around the screen, keep dragging it back into position to keep your sketch well organized. Before we move any further with dimensioning this sketch, I would like to split these regions into 5 rectangles. So I will drag it back into a rough approximation of my shape and draw some more lines. Let's go to the Line tool, and I will draw a line from here to here. This line now will only slide exactly up and down in this shape because I snapped it with a coincident constraint at each point. I can place collinear constraint here and here, and now my line will move with this line. Let's do that one more time, but this time I will purposely miss and draw my line out into space. I can go coincident constraint here to the line. Now my geometry has disappeared, but I know that it is still on my screen. I will do a zoom extends, and there's my geometry. The coincident constraint snaps to line extensions as well as the line itself. So let's go perpendicular and select my line to snap it back into place. I can now go collinear here to here. This process is easier when I can draw a line from endpoint to endpoint. If I go line, I can go from this endpoint to this endpoint, and it will automatically snap those lines in place, and it won't allow me to move them. Now we can begin to dimension our sketch. I will go D for dimension, and I will make this 15. I will make this 15, and I'll do the same for these bottom ends. And I want to dimension this edge as 15 as well. I don't see a dimension here to here, so I will go from this line to this line and make that 15. And I will make this 30, 30, and 30. Now, I can see that I have missed a constraint in my sketch. Dimensions help us find out where our sketch is not constrained correctly. Finally, let's place a few more dimensions. This will be 45, and the inside edge here will be 70. Now, if I move my sketch around, we can see that it is not allowing individual lines to move, but my sketch is moving as a whole. I don't have specific geometry that I would like my sketch to snap to, but I can use the Fix/Unfix constraint to lock it into place. So I will grab all of my sketch geometry and hit Fix/Unfix. This will turn my lines and points green and will not allow me to move it anymore. So I will go Stop Sketch. Let's go ahead and hit the Home icon to generate our home view and save our file. In the next video, we will extrude our lampshade arm geometry and create holes for our arm. I will see you in the next video.